This is Pete Jones, and you are listening to the Dragons Are Real podcast.
Hi Pete, it's Goblin's Henchman here. Just a quick voice message about your recent episode on point crawls. I thought it was a very interesting analysis you did there. I was particularly interested in this idea of using different lines to represent different kinds of journeys. So maybe a longer journey or a difficult journey. I thought that was definitely an idea that I will remember. I think this idea of presenting adventure information in abstract fashion, preferably in a compact fashion, is something that definitely interests me. I've done some blog posts on procedurally generating point crawls, and even more recently a post on something I'm calling a grid crawl, which is like a two-dimensional point crawl. I suppose I'll probably mention to you, my module Carapace, which contains a procedural way of generating a point crawl in a giant ant colony. That might be an interest, maybe it won't be. Okay, thanks a lot, bye.
That call-in was from Goblin's Henchman, talking about the episode I did on point crawl. Yes, I am interested in this Carapace procedural navigation, so I will check that out. And for anybody else out there who's interested, I'll put a link in the show notes, but you can find out all about it at goblinshenchman.wordpress.com. So I'm going to talk about a couple of the games I've been playing today. The first one is I've been playing online with the Audio Dungeon Discord lot, Barrow Maze, using the Delving Deeper rules, and Cody M is running that one. There's about 4 or 5 of us coming in at the moment. Finding Delving Deeper, I was a bit unsure about it at first. It's D20 and D6, no polyhedrals, and I thought that I wouldn't like not having polyhedrals for different damage, but to be honest, it doesn't really matter. The game moves along quickly, it's dead simple. It's not about min-maxing the best weapon you can. Weapons are flavour, and I know Rob on his down in a heap has said that he doesn't like D6 for damage, it's a bit too limiting. But the game moves on quick, and I think it makes it more of the story. My character in the Barrow Maze is now 3rd level fighter. He's got a mummy necrosis, so that means that he heals really slowly. So we're trying to... and then Cody's got some carousing rules, which he has adapted off the web, and I'll put some links to the show notes for the ones that he references. But basically what you can do is you can spend gold to try and carouse, and then you make a saving roll versus poison, if I remember rightly, and if you make your saving roll, the gold you spent then converts to XP. If you fail your saving roll, which I did, then he rolls on the carousing table to see what went wrong, and I got mugged by the Bogtown Bastards. This is a group that we've been having some trouble with, and basically they robbed all my stuff, nicked it all, lost my armour, my magic shield, my magic arrows. So the next session, which at the time of recording we're running later today, we're on a mission to get the Bogtown Bastards and get our stuff back. So there might be a big battle in that one. Back in episode 21, I did a review of some alien rules for playing alien genres. One of the set of rules I reviewed in that was Stay Frosty. Well, guess what? I managed to get a game in of Stay Frosty. On Labour Day in America, which is the first Monday in September, the guys in the Audio Dungeon decided to have a con, an online con, which has since been named Procrasticon because it was arranged really quickly, and there were a bunch of games put on. Unfortunately, with it being US time mainly, there was only sort of one game that I could get in, and that was Eric Swanson ran Stay Frosty, and it was run It was Eric's first time running an online games GM. He did a cracking job. We did it using Hangouts for the audio stroke visual, and then Twiddler he used, which is like an online whiteboard for putting on the maps and images, and we also used it for the dice roller. And I managed to play with a couple of new people that I hadn't played with before. There was Jeff, I think he's Evil Jeff on the Dungeon Discord. Eric's mate Chris, who's one of his mates, who's not one of the anchorites. There was Larry from the Follow Me and Die podcast, and I'll put a link to his podcast in the show notes. Cody M made an appearance as well, briefly, in that one. And the rules as I described worked well for it. We were colonial marines on the planet with some evil, going after some evil cultists to rescue the population. And if you want to hear more about that adventure, if you listen to Larry's podcast, he did a review of the game that we played. So check that one out. But stay frosty. Yeah, really enjoyed it. 4 hours, great fun. My monthly Lamentations of the Flame Princess game is still going strong. I run that at my local gaming group, and that's the second Thursday of the month. And it's an open tabletop game. I have between 4 and 8 players. Last time I think we needed about 4 players, and they found a massive amount of treasure after fighting some undead, and that was it. They went all out to get the treasure out of the dungeon and back to town, and a lot of them leveled up now. So over half the players at level 2 now. As always happens, somebody rolled a 1 for the new hit points, and it was the fighter. So we've got clerics with more hit points than the fighter now. But hey, that's the way you go when you're running a big extractor clone. I've mentioned that I've been using the Arkenforge Masters Toolkit for the tabletop, and you can check out my previous episode on that one if you want to hear about that. But the Masters Toolkit works really well for face-to-face play. All the players really enjoy it, and it's a bit of work in the background setting up the maps, but the visual effects on the night are really good. And now they've included an encyclopedia on there. I don't even need separate notes now. Each room has got a button I can click, and it brings up the room description. I've got all the monsters on there now, so it really has reduced the amount of paperwork I need. And Masters Toolkit is still getting love from the developers. I'm on the Discord with them, and there's great things moving forward for that. Tokens are hopefully coming soon, and they're doing a bit of a rewrite of the map designer. So yeah, again, Masters Toolkit, I highly recommend it if you play face-to-face games, and it's a one-off payment. You don't have to pay a subscription, so thumbs up for that one. Another game I got to run recently was Mothership. That was one of my local gaming nights. I had 3 players, and one of the players, he's a min-maxer. So as soon as he said he wanted to join in, I went a bit off-field to catch him out. And as I knew, he designed a colonial marine, a tank that would be great in any combat. And they ran a 3.5 hour sessions with no combat in whatsoever. The scenario I had was they were woken up from their cryosleep in the middle of nowhere. The hyperdrive had broken down, and had really weird stuff going on the ship. Bad memories coming back to haunt them. The android who was running the ship had no data, didn't know what was going on, and it was a bit like a murder mystery type one scenario. And it was they were transporting some weird artifact that was messing with time. So when they eventually worked out, they realised that they'd woken up several thousand times, but each time something had gone wrong, so it had reset. Now, I've talked about this on my blog, But the other week at our face-to-face game, one of the lads was supposed to be putting on, it was either Marvel Superheroes or Judge Dredd, I forget which now. He was putting on the game, and we all arrived down at the club, and then we had a message off him to say something had cropped up and he couldn't get down. So we had 4 of us there who were all ready for a game and had nothing planned. So the lads turned to me and said, "What can you run?" I told them, "Go to the bar, get some drinks, let me have a think about it," and 5 minutes later I had the game up and running. And the game I ran was a Stranger Things type game. So they were 80s kids in a town of their choosing, and the town was grimly dark upon wold, English town. They were school kids, and the rules I used was that I hacked Lasers and Feelings by John Harper, because it's a nice simple system. I always keep dice in my bag, and I keep some index cards. So the index cards were used as the character sheets, and in Lasers and Feelings you have a stat that is between 2 and 5. You pick the number, and then in the original Lasers and Feelings, if you want to do something with lasers, you roll under the number. If you want to do something with feelings, you roll over the number. So the one stat does both. So I had the stat as fear and fun. Fear was the fighting, confrontation, persuasion type of moves or actions, and fun was using reason, logic, investigation, or running away. And the characters I had were athlete, a bully, a geek, heartthrob, goth, or the new kid. And I got the guys to roll for one of those, to pick random one of them. They rolled for random clothing, rolled for transport, which was normally the BMX bikes, normal bikes, skateboard, roller skates. And they had one piece of gear, which was, I think we had a baseball bat, a flashlight, and walkie-talkies. So that's what they got. And I got them to name the town, got them to name the school, and the scenario we played was out of the Tales from the Loop core book, which I have as PDF on my Kindle, which I carry around with me everywhere. And basically there had been a disappearance in the school. Somebody had been chased and frightened by somebody in the school. Then we had disappearances, we had some murders, and basically it turns out the old school caretaker was a robot, and he'd killed his master, was designing more robots and using the human parts to meld with machine parts to make another robot to try and get the perfect android. They thoroughly enjoyed the game. For such a simple game, everybody was captivated by it. As a GM, it was great. I had a bit of improv in there as well. They were surprised what you could do with just one stat. And there was loads of 80s quotes all the way through it. And at the end of the day, they solved the mystery. And as one of them said, if it wasn't for them pesky kids, we would have got away with it. I've since written up the rules for Fear and Fun, so they're up on my website, and I've done one as a PDF, a one-sheet PDF, if you fancy that way, and the other one I've turned into issue 2 of my Dragons Are Real zine, and I'll put the link to both of those, and you can choose which one you want. The zine is a trifold paper, so you can pick which one of those you want, and feel free to use them and hack it to your consent.
You've been listening to the Dragons Are Real podcast. You can contact me by leaving a message via the Anchor app, or visit the podcast website, petejones.neocity.org, or on OSR Anchorites at the Audio Dungeon Discord. Thanks for listening. The opening music is Siesta by Jazar. The closing music is Controlled Distress by BizBaz Studio.